Okay, then I think everybody is raring to go. So I'm going to ask you simple questions here, easy peasy for stalwarts like you, and let's see what's your take on them. So the first question is for Bibi and Sanda. So we are going to be discussing the evolving expectations from weddings by the couples and the families. Now that is something that all of you have been dealing with recently. So I am going to ask this question to Sanda. Hi Sanda, how are you doing?
Yeah, hello to everyone from sunny Rome, and thank you so much for amazing opportunity. I'm really honored to be a part of such important wedding industry community. My special thanks goes to all Exito team members who worked so hard in the past 2 years to organize the Congress, making changes and postponements. And we all know how hard it is when you finalize the event with everything ready to go and then you have to postpone. So thank you so much. And let's be positive. I'm sure that the next year we all will be able to meet in person, make the Congress even more beautiful. So thank you so much. Well, when I've been asked to speak about how the global pandemic situation has changed my business life, actually, I realized that not only my business has been changed, but my private life and myself as well. So the first impact was so strong. And personally, I was not prepared to the fact that there are things or events that can question my organizational planning or problem solving skills. And I was not prepared not to have a solution as much as I was not prepared not to have a perspective. And honestly, after 20 years of wedding planning experience, I felt very vulnerable in front of my clients as they were asking me for something that I could not give them, the certainties. So that was so frustrating. So what did I do? What was my resilience method? God, I realized that I have never heard about that word before, to be honest. So my first resilience method was, I guess, the same for everyone. We all did many things we never had time to do. We clean up our photo galleries, we refresh our websites, we cut all extra expenses. We have changed our policies and contracts, adding new pages. In few words, we did whatever we could to remain active and propositive as we were waiting to see how the situation would evolve. And then the second, if I can say this as well, because I think it's common in many situations, in many countries, we had to fight the ignorance of our governments who did have no idea on who we are, on what we exactly do. We were just those people who like very much to party. And the process to recognize our professional category was one of the hardest things to face in the last year. And I know that this situation was not only in Italy, even it was really bad, but it's common in many parts of the world. So we reached some small but important goals. And our clients, how I faced my clients, I supported them as much as I could, trying to find all possible solutions. We postponed events for 2, 3, even 4 times. And we all know how hard it was to find the new dates or to reconfirm the same vendors again. And we had to accept that even if we knew we did our best to make wedding possible, there were couples that after 2, 3 postponements and different restrictions that were not compatible with the type of celebration have decided to cancel their destination wedding. And it was so frustrating not being able to see the magic on. But we all know that the difficult times make us even stronger. They fortificate us in a new way, and they give us a new vitality and energy to face the things from another perspective. And I understood that the fear is not a negative thing, but the human emotion that protects us from a danger. It makes us reactive in one way or another. So we can transform things. And if I was scared for a second, as I thought that I lost everything, the result of many years of commitment and sacrifice, and we know how much sacrifice we've all put in this incredible job, I decided that I need to protect like a newborn baby from all future tenders, my company, my reputation, my team, my vendors. And the only way to do that is to demand the best of the best from myself first. from my team, from all partners. So my meetings with my clients did not change a lot, as my personal and human approach is the same, because it will be always the same, as this is something that makes us different from one another. So we all know that the client will choose us not only because of our experience, but for who we are at the moment they meet us, and for the feeling and trust we give them, no matter if we are meeting in person or Zoom. But the fear they might feel for the next future is the same fear we feel. But we don't need to hide that, because it makes part of our new reality. But we need to be positive that it can change everything. We do not make miracles, but we must be more demanding to protect our clients as much as possible from future sinners, and whoever is not able to respect that cannot make part of our team. And I'm speaking about those vendors that maybe are not clear on their contracts, on their policies and conditions. So I think this is the right way to approach to the next future.
Very nicely said, Sanda. I completely agree with you that we have to look at the future. I mean, we've overcome the present and it's not really going away. So we have to look in the future and try and work it out. Thank you so much. I think that was such a great answer. Everybody's just in better spirits listening to it. There is a light at the end of the tunnel.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're
okay.
welcome.
So, anybody has any questions for any of our speakers regarding the answers that they've given, or any other topic, you're most welcome to write it on our chat, and we will be taking it up at the end of the panel discussion. Thank you. Okay, we move on to the next question, which is for you, Rahul. Hi, Rahul. How are you doing?
Very well, Pauline. How are you?
I'm great. So my question is, how have first meetings changed? I mean, creating an impact on the client in this format, how different is it? And if you could also share like a funny anecdote or a funny first meeting that happened over a Zoom call that turned out to be like a joke on everybody, if you could share that.
Well, no, I've always maintained the fact that IT or technology can always just facilitate meetings, but it can never substitute in-person meetings. It was something that came into play because people could not have face-to-face meetings, but in our line of business, that personal connect is very important. So the last 18 months where we could not actively engage our clients into face-to-face meetings, we had to resort to technology, which also in a manner increased and widened the new community of users who are not very tech savvy. So people like my parents and the older family folks, they started getting into a lot of these online meetings, which they did not know how to access in the past. So it did grow a community of online users and people who eventually started understanding tech. But meetings, of course, were being facilitated by online mediums, such as what we are engaging in right now. And it brought the world closer electronically for sure. But I've always still been of the opinion that first impact, and when it comes to something like a wedding, a celebration which is so close and dear to a family, it involves so many different family members, especially when it comes to Indian weddings. There's multiple people who want to see, meet, and then have a face-to-face conversation and communication with you. Because in our line of business, if they're possibly having online conversations with different vendors or other potential wedding planners that families are considering, this is only going to be a dialogue on a screen. But the personal connect, when it comes to how you dress up, how you speak, your body language, the warmth, the connect, is all only physically visible once you're there in front of them. So I feel that it has got us to a certain distance, of course, in terms of getting the preliminary communication going. But then in my own experience of signing up weddings, even through the last year, I can tell you this from on-ground reality, that while we were able to create the first impression, have the initial dialogue going on with these families, my contract signings happened only when they flew into the country and had my first meeting with them face to face. So that really makes an impact. While we could get the initial consultations going, decision making finally still only happened once they met in person. And I think, in my opinion, when it comes to weddings, that is the way forward. Even pre-pandemic, we used to travel and fly across to different countries and cities when families wanted us to come and meet them, even before we were signed up, because they wanted to meet us in person. Because if they're going to entrust their big day with us and they're going to spend 10 months to a year with us, they definitely want to have that personal connect. But in terms of funny episodes, well, obviously the usual where you've got people walking around, or sometimes people forget to switch off their microphones, so I get to know what they're cooking for lunch, and then my tummy is grumbling. So that those are the kind of funny instances that I've heard and seen myself. But as I said, yes, we can continue using technology to facilitate, but it can never substitute in-person meetings.
You're absolutely right, Rahul. A marriage in itself, a wedding in itself, is such a family reunion, so it's difficult to substitute it virtually. I completely agree with you. And I'm sure there have been Zoom mix ups at your end also. Maybe you're also giving instructions to somebody in the family. Has that ever happened?
Well, yeah, possibly. It's just that my team at the back end would be speaking or discussing another wedding, and I'm like, wait, hold on, because we have another wedding in progress. So yeah, funny things like those definitely happen. But I'm always dressed well, so I've not had any of those mishaps ever. So no.
Well, I can see that you do dress up immaculately well. So great. Thank you so much, Rahul, for that answer. Okay, now we have Bibi with us. Welcome, Bibi. How are you doing? You're on mute, Bibi. That's all right. It's it's a given.
All right. How are you guys?
We're all well. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining the discussion.
Having
We,
me.
we wanted to we wanted to ask you the first question, and now that you're here, I'm going to start off with asking you the question again. So we were discussing about the evolving expectations from weddings by the couples and the families in this new normal. So if you could have your bit on that.
Okay. So what I've noticed, and I'm sure everyone has felt this way, we've been attached to our phones, our screens. We've been actually looking at events more than ever. And I believe that one of the biggest issues we've been having is people's expectation, because suddenly people are so attached to their phone, looking online, looking at all these amazing weddings, and wanting them because they've actually like seen them, and they've been saving, like screenshotting and putting things into an album of like 1,000 pictures as their mood board inspiration for their wedding, and that's kind of been quite difficult. It's been quite difficult managing expectations because people just have been living in a dream, I would say, alternate reality for the past year and a half. And I do believe that the longer they feel they haven't had their wedding, they feel more entitled to get exactly what they want because they've been waiting for so long. So then there's this struggle, between like couples or between whoever's paying, and then obviously the budget versus the designer. So these are kind of things that we've been focusing on, and I feel like I'm so happy I have a little bit of a background in psychology and education, and I feel where that comes in, where my patience comes in, and I try, I'm not very patient, but I'm working on it, and where like me explaining things and re-educating people and bringing people back to reality. The one thing that I'm the one thing that I admit is I'm not a romantic event planner. I'm very straightforward. I don't say this, it's all in your dreams and kind of things. I'm very straightforward. And I think that kind of like sets the tone. So I only discuss and talk about things that actually can happen. And if they can't, I don't play along till the end and then send them a proposal and then make them feel like, okay, what they want is going to be really high. No, I set the tone from the beginning, and when discussing things, be like, this is not possible because of COVID, or this is not possible because of where you live. I'm from Kuwait, where our summer was the hottest summer in the world, third year in a row. We can't have an outdoor wedding up till November. So these are things I say right from the start to manage expectations. And I think my realism might lose me some clients, because I don't give them that feeling that we would do anything for them. But for me, what I'm very happy about is whoever we do keep as clients and whoever do sign with us, they're so happy and they feel that we've gone above and beyond what we've said, and we've really managed expectations. And I'm very proud to say that we've never had a situation where someone has said, "Ooh, you said you do this, but it never happened." No, I'd always rather under promise and then over deliver as a surprise or as an unexpected kind of gift to them. So that kind of like struggle to manage expectations, it's not been easy, but it really hasn't been. So I just think in playing cool, being realistic, being honest with them, and not just promising them the moons and stars just to get the gig because we really need the cash flow in our company, but to be straightforward and honest is the best way to go.
You're right, Bibi. Honesty is the best policy no matter where you are, right?
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that answer. Okay, the next question is for you, Mr. Mahesh. How are you doing?
Good.
So welcome to this discussion and welcome to the event. My question to you is that any major changes that you had to make to your approach and business to cater to your clients' needs?
So first of all, welcome to all the panelists, and good to see everybody virtually, if not physically, from different parts of the geography. I myself am in Dubai. I was in India for quite some time, but from April I've been in Dubai. And Sandra, I love your country, Italy, because the family values between Italy and India are fairly similar in terms of being joined at the hip in terms of the entire family environment. Rahul, I know for some time now, and physically, yes, we've met also a few times. So glad to be on the panel. And who said that the weddings industry was recession proof? We've suddenly woken up, the last 2 years, almost 2 years of our life has been carved out from under us, and we are now coming to grips with how to deal with it. So, some of the major changes which we've made to stay relevant as in terms of how we operate our business. And just to slightly digress from what you've asked me, Tamarind, for example, has 4 divisions. One is a very robust domestic division, one is a MICE division, and one is the weddings and events division. What has happened is, because of the dynamics of the up and down of the pandemic, we've had a huge demand for the domestic, and that has kept us alive. The weddings and events have actually gone into a coma till we had the second wave, etc., and there was a lot of uncertainty. But now, coming to basically what question you asked me, we've actually learned in these last 1.5 years to operate with a much leaner team, who can multitask. So we've tried to make sure that mediocrity is not tolerated and people have moved out, and we've had a much leaner team contributing to what we think has to happen in these trying times. We've also learned to, I think, adapt to cater to smaller numbers. The big fat obese wedding, or the big obese wedding, so to speak, has gone on a crash diet long time back. Everybody's come to grips with that. So we've learned to cater to smaller numbers. And that's why when you cater to smaller numbers, your creative inputs, the ability to amplify experiences, personalization has set people apart. So there are people who have actually been wedding planners who put 2 and 2 together and make 5. Those people have a challenge of staying relevant in where the smaller numbers are concerned. I think another thing which has actually come in are the health and safety benchmarks. The health and safety benchmarks are again gone up substantially from what we had earlier. And now, more than a lot of mandates being posed by the venues, the hotels, the countries, the teams themselves have started realizing, or the companies themselves have started realizing, that you need to instill these kind of safety measures to try and have that extra edge over competition. So, for example, Tamarind, before vaccinations were already there, we had something like called a Tamarind Protect. We had an SOP manual done for vendor management, visitor management, guest management, facilitations of all the PCR tests, etc. And we had done a process for this. We were able to stay ahead of the curve, even in spite before this was way back in November, December. I think that has stood us in good fit in terms of the future adaptation, which is going to be a norm in any case. And I think what one needs to do is try and stay relevant to the dynamic conditions which are happening all across. What happens today is changing tomorrow. So from that point of view, I think these are some of the changes we've instilled. At the same time, the hybrid model of not working from office and working from home, trying to amalgamate the two. I was reading a really interesting article about how companies have learned to marry the two, between physical meeting in the offices as well as working from home, because that requires a little bit of more disciplining, and secondly a motivation in terms of how you keep your own teams engaged. And in our business, we don't have any capital assets. Our only capital assets are our humans and the people who work for us. So these are some of the changes we've made in the companies, and hopefully now we've seen the back of COVID, so to speak, and with a lot of countries having great vaccinations in place, in terms of percentages, the incidence of COVID, even if it happens with various variants, I think will be like the regular flu or the regular, cough and cold, and we're going to live with it. Masks are there to stay. And till the time, I think this whole thing is eradicated, 23, 24 will have not only a U shape, but it'll have a complete V shape. We've already started seeing the green shoots of what's happening as far as the inquiries and the weddings are concerned. Obviously, it's smaller numbers, but the people are actually starting to do the weddings more and events more as countries start opening up borders and relaxing.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mahesh, for that wonderful insight into the question. I think you're absolutely right. It's here, it's happening, so I guess we just live with it. I would like to ask the same question to Sanda as well. I would like to repeat the question that what are the major changes that you've made in your approach in business to cater to your clients' needs? You're on mute, sorry.
Yes. Sorry. Yeah. Well, as I said before, my meetings more or less are the same because, the clients are always asking for many things. But I think that we need to be honest. As Bibi said, we always say, at least in Italy, we are making the dreams. But, in the dreams, everything is possible. And in reality, it's not like that. So we need to be honest from the first beginning with our clients, what's possible, what we need to check, what we don't know, because there are many things that maybe from here to 1 year that we are not sure that we can deal. For example, when we are searching for the locations and venues, in Italy, by now they're saying that the certain capacity for this year is until that certain number, and we don't know if it's going to change. So there are things that we need to be honest with our clients. We cannot promise them the things that if we are not sure that we can manage with that things. And of course, we are dealing about love. That is always something that we are going to deal with. And, the love needs a courage, dedication, hard work, understanding. So what I ask from my clients from now on, that we need to be a team. We need to work together. We need to plan the things step by step, seeing how the situation will change. And we need to be positive, of course, because it's important for all of us. At the same time, the respect needs to be mutual. So this is the thing that I ask from my clients too, because I don't make miracles. I cannot make impossible things. I'm a human being too, because this situation has changed our lives, and it's changed a lot. So they need to understand us as well. It's not just only about them, but of course we need to speak about that in a prompt way. So if I can say, my prerogative with my clients is that our relationship needs to be like a round trip respect and understanding, as we are all equal as a human beings.
Thank you so much, Sanda, for that very personalized answer. Okay, next up, Bibi, can we have the same question from you? The changes you've made in your approach and business to cater to your clients' needs.
All right. Okay. So the changes I've made in my approach have been a lot different. Um, the 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 reality is, and I don't know about everyone else's country, but we've had kind of two scenarios with events. We've had events that are legal and on the radar, and we've also had people who believe that because they're hosting the events and weddings in their homes, in their private chalets, beach houses, or farms, they can get away with numbers that are different. And we do have a law in Kuwait that nobody can enter someone's home. So private property can never be checked. So we do have people who, if the legal limit is 50, they're inviting 120, that kind of thing. So it's been really tough because I've always been a stickler to rules, but I do understand that I have a business to run. I have bills to pay. I have overheads, and and in a climate or normal environment where we do around 30 to 40 really high-end events a year, suddenly whittling down, and without me wanting to get rid of my team, I've had to make sacrifices to my, let's call it the way I play by the rules. So this is something that is emotionally difficult for me, because I guess having an English mother and growing up with a British system, like going against the rules is kind of scary. So that's been a big problem for me. Second is it's been very emotionally difficult the past year and a half, because with the pandemic, there's also illness and loss, and we've lost members of our team. I personally lost my father during all of this, and that kind of change is huge, because it affects obviously me personally, creatively. It also affects my team when one of our team members who've been with us like 12, 14 years has also left. It's very difficult. So boosting morale. So I believe to me, without sounding cocky or anything, the weddings and designing is very, very simple. It's the operation and logistic and production that is the difficulty. And keeping a brave face, being positive for your team, coming to work or planning an event when I'm in mourning has actually been the most challenging thing. And what I've been working on is just, I hate to say I meditate, because I do it like twice a week, but even that, putting that kind of effort into doing things, trying to find clarity, trying to find the silver linings throughout all this, while still trying to be positive to your team, positive to your clients, do everything, has been really difficult. So I feel like the biggest change I've had is working on me. And when you are, when you are the face and the name of your company, it comes with a high expectation. So that's kind of been difficult. So that is the main change and thing that I've had to deal with. And the second of all, the other change is being like, our contracts have to be super flexible now. When I love our business, because I love interior design and I love events, and the reason I didn't go into interior design is because it doesn't have an end date. I'm a Scorpio. I'm nice, but not that nice. So after your wedding day, I want to say thank you, I love you, but I can't continue a long-term relationship. I'm emotionally drained, and the fact that now we've had to keep on changing our event dates over and over and over, and go from, okay, we started in a hotel, then we're going to do at home. No, I'm going to wait 2 months because they're going to allow us to have outdoor events. We're going to switch from 50 people to 150. We're going to go outdoors. No, the weather isn't good. Let's think about a tent. And so suddenly our design fees, our time, what we expected and what we charge for has just been like stretched. So like I said, and even it goes back to me, it's the biggest thing I've had to work on is me, my patience, my professionalism, and that's still a work in progress. So, if anyone has worked that out and knows an answer, I would love to hear it.
Bibi, I think you've answered it yourself, that if you yourself are sorted, the world just falls in place, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Our next question is for you, Rahul. Your bit on how to manage pricing and remain profitable in post-pandemic weddings.
Well, it is a very interesting question that you have for us, and there is two views to it. One is the view from an entrepreneur's perspective, which is our view. And then there's the other view from the buyer's perspective, which is our client. And we have to bridge the gap between the two. Now, my personal opinion is that our pricings do not have to take a hit or have to be any diminished from what we used to charge earlier. Perhaps it should be the opposite and be a bit higher than usual. And the explanation school of thought behind that is that 18 months has been quite a challenge for us to keep our brands going and to be able to keep ourselves and our team sane, so to say. With that in play, all the hotels, all the resorts, all the venues, and any stakeholder when it comes to wedding celebrations has raised their price tags even in this country. I speak solely of the UAE where I am based. If I go out now shopping for a venue for the top months of the celebration times, which is from now until March, I am paying at least 30% more than I would on the same months pre-pandemic now, because the hotels understand this is the time that they need to recuperate and come back with loss of revenues. Plus also the fact that there is so much of celebrations or events that has been displaced over the last 18 months to 2 years that have now tried to fill in this small little space that we have of about 6 to 7 months. So the books are overfilling with inquiries and booked events that people are actually, or families are actually fighting their way into spaces or for selected dates. So with the pure aspect of demand versus supply, prices are going high. We've raised our price tags. So we're happy with clients coming to us, understanding our price tags. If they want to look a different way and go away, we're happy with them doing that, because there is another client standing in queue coming to pay us our price that we ask for. And same goes for venues as well. So price points at this point in time, we've seen tough times. It's time for us now to get that back, to retain our talent, to be able to provide the kind of service that we used to. On our own personal level, if I speak of my team, I've had to hire 2 health and safety officers full-time on my payroll so that we can ensure all the parameters and norms are being met, because we do not want to land ourselves or our clients into situations which we're embarrassed of or have stiffer penalties in terms of fines or a reputation at stake when it comes to doing things in a different manner. So we have in-house health and safety officers now. So that is added to our costs as well. Now, even through the pandemic, if you would see, and this is briefly touching upon the question that you asked everyone else previously, we, in fact, while many other teams were taking a back seat and waiting for things to calm down and come back into action, we did the opposite. We went forward and we invested a lot of time, money, and energy into our marketing campaigns. Our Instagram page, our social media is the most active page in the city, which is called Vivaah Celebrations. If you go to see, there hasn't been one day since the pandemic where there has not been fresh content. This content has kept the community engaged with us. It was not selling in your face. It was not hardcore in your face promotion. It was all about telling the community that don't stop dreaming. Good times will come back. Your big day can still be envisioned, and when the time is right, we will execute it for you. So there has been fresh content every day, purely engaging the community, and that got the momentum going. So when times were right, these families came back again and they were willing to sign on business. And now we're doing some of the largest mega weddings in the upcoming season, and that is only because we've not gone irrelevant. We've kept connected with the community with great content, but also the fact that we've been choosy and picky about what we sign up, and our price tags still remain at a certain level and above. And this is exactly what we explain to our buyers and our clients, telling them if it's not you, there is someone else ready to buy. And that's what our pricing is at this point in time.
Absolutely right, Rahul. I think social media is the new workspace, and thank you for that wonderful insight in the question. Next up, Mr. Mahesh, if I can ask you the same question, that how do you manage pricing and remain profitable in post-pandemic weddings?
So the first thing, because we had a large team, we had a team of almost about 450 pan-India, and with some overseas offices across our divisions. So the first thing we had to do was make sure that we, do a little creative control in terms of cutting down on costs, both internal as well as external. And obviously, some of them were painful, some of them are heart-wrenching. But the thing is, you need to stretch the runway of resources to stay relevant and to be there to run when the demand, so to speak, comes back again. So from a point of view of controlling the costs, we have managed to do that. Externally, as far as costs are concerned, we need to be a little more circumspect with the competition in terms and positioning, so that we actually do a right pricing and not engage in a price war. There are lots of weddings, but there are very few dates available and the very few venues available, as Rahul said. So you got to make sure that you don't really fleece the client. You start having a win-win situation for both the external as well as your internal. You need to balance that well. I think smarter negotiations with your vendors as well as rational pricing with your clients is the way to actually manage pricing and remain profitable. And obviously I give examples when we start cutting down on costs and start cutting down on, administration as well as wages, as well as rentals. I always tell my people who've been with me for some time and who've had, the misfortune of going with leave with on furloughs or on leave without pay. I just give them an example of when the plane is crashing, the oxygen masks come down. And if you have a kid next to you, the first thing you do is put the oxygen mask on yourself to save the child. And that's what we're doing. And that's when you start saying that, listen, we want to be there alive to make sure that we bring you back into the fold. And that's what we've been doing. And that's how we've been managing our pricing and staying, I wouldn't say profitable. I think the word is basically breaking even and not incurring losses, because 2 years carved out of your system financially only with one division, if you're doing just weddings and events where revenues had really dried up, is very difficult to catch up in just one season. You need to make sure that you're really prudent about how you manage your business. And for that, we've got some, I've been blessed with some great team members, both on the senior as well as the mid-level and juniors levels, who've been completely understanding, who held our hands. And we've got clients who've been very, very accommodative and cooperative in spite of the numbers having gone down, to try and retain the kind of fees and the commercials they've been, sharing with us when the time comes in.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mahesh, for that wonderful answer. I would like to ask the same question to Bibi, that how do you manage pricing and remain profitable in post-pandemic weddings?
All right. So something quite important is I'm not a planner. We're a decoration and production house. So we do plan if the client wants us to, but we do sometimes, we are sometimes outsourced by planners. So the pricing of planning, I can't really answer to. So the way I work usually is I have a design fee. And in that design fee, we have an estimate of what the client wants to spend on for production and design. We don't, take any percentage of any food, catering, entertainment, or whatever. We have a design fee that is a solid number based on like ranges. So 0 to 50, 50 to 100, 100 and whatever. So what we used to do is take our design fee and let's say 10% of the cost. Now I don't, because what I realized in the events that I was working on during the pandemic is we were just trying to survive. We were in survival mode. So we take our design fee and we go ahead, but we realized that costs went up. Steel has tremendously gone up. Wood has, in Kuwait, wood has increased by 60%. So per plywood, and we use a lot of wood. Painting, labor, cost. Just to give you an example, we found out that we've spent in dollars around $70,000 in masks, sanitizers, PCRs, just for our team in the last 18 months. So these are things that are huge. What we were doing is we were working, but because we were in survival mode, we weren't really checking day to day or month by month on what the costs were going and how they were incurring. Flying in flowers from Holland we price based on, an additional 5%, but not realizing that shipping has increased by 35% and the landing fees have cost. So wow, we suddenly look back and we're like, wait, we thought we were breaking even. I'm happy to break even at this point and very blessed to have done that. But then we realized, on some projects we lost because we didn't do our due diligence in terms of actually the R&D of the prices. So now we ask our clients to give us time so that we can give them the best. We want them to have more for their money, because the more they have for their money, the better our pictures look and the work looks, and then we can get more clients. So it's a win-win situation that the budgeting and the costing and all the pricing is really, really studied. So we've now divided. We don't take any money for production. We take our pricing for the design and we ask them for a minimum of 10 days to 2 weeks just to do the R&D. And so that when we design, we're making sure we're designing for what they want to spend. So if they have, let's say, $100,000, don't want them to spend half of that money on things that don't show, like structure, then to put the decor on, because it'll look like they've only spent 50, not 100. So these are the things that we're really, really being very picky with. We want the best for our clients because, again, and I think all of us, the Indian community, the Italian community, basically the Arab community, we're very about family. And when people like you as a planner and a designer, you become their friend. And then they refer you for cousins and best friends and sisters and siblings. It's never a one-off situation. So I find that it's very important to think about the future, because anyone who attends this event, 10% of them could possibly, or 20% could possibly be your clients later. So we want the best for our clients. So I think it's all about studying, going back to numbers. I'm not a number person at all, but to have the honesty to say, I need someone on my side. We need to study this very well. And then we price, and then we give them, an accurate thing. And if what they want is a steel structure, customized, structure in their garden, we try to say, okay, this is going to cost too much. It's going to take so much from your budget. How about? And then we work really hard. So in on R&D, we have what they want, but we've already studied and designed. We call it the how about. So it's a positive way of giving them something else that is beautiful, that is impactful, but they get more for their money.
Thank you so much, Bri. That was such a very good and elaborate answer. And I think we have a clearer picture on things now that everybody's answered. Next up, let's end this panel discussion with a one-line answer on this most important part of the discussion. Your one piece of advice to the wedding planning community on how to reinvent strategies and stay resilient. I think everybody needs an answer to that. Let's start with you, Rahul.
Well, I would say most importantly, become a part of the family and step inside their shoes to understand their perspective and think like them. It is more about relationships at this point in time, like Bibi said, than looking into the revenues first. So become one with the family.
Very nicely said, Rahul. Become one with the family. Next up, Sanda, your bit on the topic. One piece of advice.
Yes, no matter what happens, we need to be sure that what we do is all about love and will always be, and we need to protect it. It's about ourselves, it's about positive emotions, beautiful people, and great party, of course.
Thank you so much. Mahesh, what is your advice to everybody?
So my advice to the wedding fraternity is don't engage in a price war. Trust in your leadership, and the brand that you represent. You have faith, have patience, be flexible and agile, and you will see through this entire trying times, and good times will roll again.
Very well said. Good times are always rolling together. Thank you. And Bibi, what about you? One piece of advice.
My piece of advice is definitely when looking at all the new companies that are out there and the new event planners, is know thyself and put that out there. Don't waver to designs and styles that are not yours. Push your brand confidently, because there's only one you. Instead of being, like the other people out there. So push what you favor, push what you love, have faith in your ability, and push that onto the world.
Great. Thank you so much, Bibi. And thank you to all our panelists for such an engaging discussion. And if any of you, all of our viewers, you have any questions for any of our speakers, please put them down in the chat and they will be asked. So right now is the right time to do that. And now that we know that we have some wonderful insights into the new world of the wedding industry, I'm sure we need time to process all that useful information and have a lot of questions for our speakers. So the next half hour is going to be just about that. Up next is our networking session. But first we say thank you to our speakers again. Thank you to our panelists. We move on to our networking session. So you can network one-on-one with any of our panelists, any of our speakers, and everybody who is present. Like I mentioned before, the partner tab will take you to the virtual booth of our partners for the session. The lounge tab will help you meet and have a quick conversation with your fellow wedding planners and wedding vendors for group discussions and chats. So this is the networking session. Next up, I'll see you at the other side of this break. Thank you so much, panelists.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye to everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.